as we close out April is going to be much larger than where we closed March. Now, the other thing is that April, the month that we are closing now, was a heavy month in terms of repayments. We had the Eurobond repayment. We repaid one bilateral partner in terms of maturities. We got some additional support for another bilateral partner. But this is also a month in which we access the private placement Eurobond market after a gap of 4 years. And we printed $750 million, which has obviously helped in terms of our FX reserves and FX situation. And we're not going to stop there. We are in the final stages of the inaugural Panda bond. This is going to be roughly $250 million worth of RMB. If all goes well, by middle of May, we will have printed that as well. And we have also announced our GMBN program over the next 2 to 3 years, where we are going to access Eurobonds, Sukuks, and for the first time, we are going to make an attempt at dollar-settled rupee-linked bond, because that's the lot of feedback that we receive from institutional investors that has been a missing link in terms of our product repertoire. This external account situation is important. We will be at $60 billion at the end of this month, and as the Governor of the Central Bank mentioned in his after the Monetary Policy Committee discussion yesterday, that we are quite clear that our reserves are going to be at $18 billion at the end of June. That will take us to roughly 3 months of import cover, which is a great international benchmark. Now, the reason I'm dwelling on this when we talk about macro stability, because from my perspective, this is basic hygiene. All of you who are here today, you want that your profits can be repatriated, dividends can be repatriated. It's important for the local investors, it's important for the foreign investors, and this is the only way forward from macro stability into sustainable growth as we go forward. So there's a lot of discussion about, whether macro stability, the structural reforms. These are all areas, and I'm just going to go through very, very quickly around some of these structural reforms. On the taxation side, it's people, process, technology. We have a long way to go in terms of reforming our taxation system, but we have been able to move the needle in terms of tax to GDP ratio. We have been able to improve the overall absolute revenues by deepening and widening the tax base. And a lot of this is technology-led. So AI-led digital monitoring, AI-led CRM, and that has helped us plug a lot of leakages in the system. It's something which is still in progress. Digital, I think this is very critical.
मनाज़र इस वक्त आप देख रहे हैं वफाकी वज़ीर ख़ज़ाना मोहम्मद औरंगज़ेब पाकिस्तान यूरोपीय यूनियन बिज़नेस फोरम से इस्लामाबाद में खिताब कर रहे थे। उन्होंने कहा, पायदार माशी इस्तेहकाम की जानिब हमारा सफ़र जारी है। माशी शोबे में स्ट्रक्चरल इस्लाहात पर अमल पैरा हैं। मोहम्मद औरंगज़ेब ने कहा कि पायदार माशी तरक्की के हुसूल के लिए इस्लाहात नागुज़ीर हैं। वज़ीर ख़ज़ाना ने मज़ीद कहा कि माशी शोबे में स्ट्रक्चरल इस्लाहात इंतहाई ज़रूरी हैं। यूरोपीय यूनियन पाकिस्तानी बरामदात के लिए मुफीद मंडी है। पायदार माशी तरक्की के हुसूल के लिए हमें इस्लाहात करनी होंगी। यूरोपीय यूनियन पाकिस्तानी बरामदात के लिए एक बड़ी मंडी है। मार्च में करंट अकाउंट $1 अरब सरप्लस रहा। वज़ीर ख़ज़ाना मोहम्मद औरंगज़ेब ने कहा कि GDP 4% रहने की तवक्को है। पाकिस्तान की मईशत बेहतरी की जानिब गामज़न है। वज़ीर ख़ज़ाना मोहम्मद औरंगज़ेब ने मज़ीद कहा कि पायदार माशी इस्तेहकाम की जानिब हमारा सफ़र जारी रहेगा। वज़ीर ख़ज़ाना पाकिस्तान यूरोपीय यूनियन बिज़नेस फोरम से इस्लामाबाद में खिताब कर रहे थे। उन्होंने कहा, माशी शोबे में स्ट्रक्चरल इस्लाहात पर अमल पैरा हैं। पायदार माशी तरक्की के हुसूल के लिए इस्लाहात नागुज़ीर हैं। यूरोपीय यूनियन पाकिस्तानी बरामदात के लिए एक बड़ी और मुफीद मंडी है। मार्च में करंट अकाउंट $1 अरब सरप्लस रहा। वज़ीर ख़जाना ने कहा कि GDP इस वक्त 4% रहने की तवक्को है। वज़ीर ख़जाना मोहम्मद औरंगज़ेब ने कहा कि रोशन डिजिटल अकाउंट एक बेहतरीन सिस्टम है जिससे इंतहाई मुस्बत असरात बरामद हुए हैं। पाकिस्तान की मईशत इस वक्त बेहतरी की जानिब गामजन है। पायदार माशी इस्तेहकाम की जानिब हमारा ये सफ़र जारी है।
Yeah, it's also an euphemism for corruption. We want to get rid of all of this stuff by using the technology which is available. If you can go to the next slide, please. Now, tariff reform. There was a lot of debate and discussion because in some sense, the world was closing down in terms of increasing protection. So for us, it was a very, very bold decision that in July 1 of last year, we said we are going to bring down our tariff regime, custom duties, additional custom duties, regulatory duties, so that our industry actually gets competitive. We have at times protected our industry for the longest time without sunset clauses, and that is not sustainable. So a lot of this, what has happened in the first year, is that we have reduced these duties, especially on intermediate goods and the raw materials, so that we can make our export industry more competitive. And when we talked about this with the World Bank group, etc., and the chief rep is here, they said that they compared it to how Southeast Asia started on this journey in the late 90s, and this can very well be our South Asia moment. Next slide, please. Energy sector reforms. I understand the delegation has already met Minister Lagari yesterday, so I'm not going to dwell on that. He's sort of leading from the front in terms of the tariff rationalization which has happened, market and structural reforms, competitive multi-buyer market, I think is very important. The NTDC restructuring, reduction of the circular debt, improving DISCO efficiencies. I think it's very, very critical. It's because of that efficiency which is going into the system that we have been able to reduce the subsidies from the Ministry of next year. So there we are sort of pushing that back. We have sort of merged some of the ministries. We have closed down some of the departments where there was misuse. It's not about the people who are working there or the exact costs associated with the FTEs. It's really the subsidies and the misuse of the subsidies. When we close these, and when we, for example, Utility Stores Corporation, where we've been giving subsidized food through the system, now it is being done, transmitted, digital wallets to the vulnerable population. And I think that's the way to go, and we have some way to go on this as well. But we are well on our way. The process is very simple. We discuss this in the committee, we take it to the cabinet ratifies this, and then we bring it back into the implementation. Maybe we are not moving at the same pace as Argentina, but we're certainly going in the right direction. Next slide, please. Privatization and SOE reform. I think this is critical because the Prime Minister is very clear, we are all very clear that the private sector has to lead the country. So in the first year of our administration, quite frankly, we did not do too well. We did not get traction. And the privatization of the First Women Bank, and then the tailwind which we have now gotten through the PIA privatization, which is very, very important because it ticks so many boxes. In the first instance, the combined bids that came in from two large conglomerates from Pakistan had a total tally of about $1.2 billion. Now that's a large sum of money where local investors want to come in and invest in a national asset. And the fact that the large groups in the country are willing to work with each other as consortiums, I think is also very important. So the next one, just previous, so where do we go from here? As Minister Lagari must have told you, 3 EOIs for the distribution companies, 2 in advanced stage. So we are moving forward with that. The airport where you landed, Islamabad airport, our last attempt wasn't successful. We are going back for appointing the financial advisor on that. And then very quickly we want to move to the Lahore and the Karachi airports. 2 FIs which are also on the on the privatization list, along with insurance, etc. So we are going to move forward with privatization with a lot of gusto, inshallah, during this year. Next, please. I think debt management I've talked about in the context of external debt, but in terms of internal debt, we have done a lot of liability management trades. We have just restructured our debt management office to bring it into the 21st century. Ex-Deutsche person is now actually heading our debt management office, and we're doing liability management trades, etc. And as I mentioned, because of all of this stuff, we will be having a debt servicing cost which is much less than the budget. Next one, please. Pension reforms. The new colleagues who are joining in the civil government, they are now on defined contribution, armed forces from next year, and there are parametric reforms as well. Here, what we have done is stop the bleeding. The stock is still there, and we still need to figure out how we go about it, but we have to start somewhere, and that's what we've done. Next, please. Now, everything that I've talked about so far is in the context of what I would call is old economy. It was beginning of last year that we figured out that we had 40 million crypto users in Pakistan. So we were behind the curve. We were number 10 at one point in time, then we got to be number 7, and beginning of last year, we were number 3. So we had to formalize this, both from a defensive perspective, KYC, AML, CFT. As you know, we got out of the FATF regime a few years back, so we don't want to move back there because of flows which are outside the formal system to this extent. But on the other side, the upside associated with that is huge. And that's why we went into the Virtual Asset Regulatory Authority. We went to the Parliament. We got this bill approved. Under this, we are going to be now, we are in advanced stages in terms